Hey everybody, this is Patrick at ACA, Austin Coding Academy, and I was recently having some trouble deploying my app, and I was finding it a little nerve-wracking, and I couldn't find any tutorial videos online for it. So once I got it up and running, I thought, why not create a little walkthrough tutorial for um, anybody else who may be having the same frustrations, or it can be pretty frustrating when it's not deploying. So I'm going to go into I'm basically going to do a walkthrough of the deploying practice here in week 8, day 2. And I'm just going to follow the instructions. I'm just going to walk through it and try to explain as much as I can as we're going through it. All right. So we're going to use the use.static functionality. And it refers to a repo that we built in 3.11, which may work for you, but I think what I'm going to kind of do is kind of make a new one from scratch. So let's go ahead and clone. Let's clone this repo. This repo acts as a really good template if you or I guess, do I want to fork it? I guess you would want to fork it, although I already have a version of this. Actually, yeah, I already have a version of this, so I'm going to go to my version. This will just take me to my version, and I'm going to clone it. I did make some changes, so I'm trying to, yeah, I don't know if that's really necessary. I did make some changes, so I wish I didn't have those changes on here. But anyway, I'll try to identify any changes that I have. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clone this. So and I'm going to want to CD into that. So CD, what is it? GCloud Express, GCloud Express, and launch the editor, code editor. Okay, actually, you know what? I could have, well, never mind. I could have cloned the original because I'm not actually going to do any Git stuff with it. I'm going to go ahead and do that actually, because I would like to see what the original I may have made some changes on it, and I want to just have, I want to see where this is when starting out at. Okay, so let's see if this will work if I have to do something. Okay. So now if I list my files, oh darn, that was a mistake. I just cloned it into the wrong folder, but we can fix this. There we go. And let's go ahead, let's get rid of this bidding whether I want to, let's call this Get Express 2. Okay. So okay, so we got to back out, make sure we're in the right spot. All right. Now we'll say git clone. Okay, there it is. And then code. All right, here we go. And of course, I coded into the wrong folder once again. CD, GCloud, Express. code. There we go. All right. So we have a client folder. So the instructions is kind of assuming that we have a front end already, or like let's see, copy your entire folder from your React app into the GCloud Express folder and rename it to client. And yeah, if you do that, you do want to delete the node modules to make it quicker. And I think it can also just kind of help things from getting messy. So if this works for you, then you can do that. What I kind of recommend, especially if you might not already have your app all set up, is actually I'm actually going to delete this folder. Yes. Whoops. What's going on? Unable to delete non-existing file. User. I don't. That's weird. Okay. Well, I'll just rename it. No such file or directory. GCloud Express. That is weird. Let's close this and relaunch it. That was very strange. Okay, I hope that doesn't happen again. So what now I'm going to do, I'm going to start a new terminal. And so I'm going to npx create React app client. Trying to make sure I'm in the right folder again because yes, I am where I want to be. And so this is going to go ahead and create that front end application. So, and if you've already got an app, you could bring the whole app. And if you've got a front end application, you could bring that whole application into here. I was having trouble with that because I had already had my backend built in that same file, and it got really tricky to bring it in. Things got really mixed up, and so that's another reason why I want to make this video, is because if you're having that kind of situation, this might be able to help you get the file structure that you need to deploy the app. This will take a little bit. And so what I did, I basically took this as a template, and for the application that I already built, I just went into the client folder, which is the React application, took luckily there's really only a few files you need to change. The index.js is one of them. If you got your index.js, you just copy that and paste it on top of this starter index.js, and then you bring in your source folder with all of your components, and you bring in your Redux folder with all of that stuff, and that should I think that should be most of it. And then you'll want, if you've already got a backend, you'll want your index.js to reference that. But maybe that'll be the next video, is kind of doing that as an example, but it could be different for everybody. Instead, I kind of want this to just be to help you deploy an app. And also, I wouldn't, if you're just starting your Capstone project, you might want to kind of do this first so that you have a good file structure. That was one of my biggest challenges, is I didn't have the correct file structure. And the way that file structure is going to work is the client is going to be our React app, and that's going to have its own package JSON and package lock JSON file. And the root folder will have our index.js file, which will be basically our server, which will serve the serve the front end as well as any back end routes that we write. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we have our new client folder. Okay, and let's see. So if we go into, if we cd into client and we put npm start, this should start. And you should get just that starting template that you are probably very familiar with by now. So, yay, okay. So, I'm gonna go ahead and edit that right now. It's always good to just, makes you feel nice that things are working. So if I go into our app.js, I could say edit Patrick's new app, and that should appear. Yes, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to the directions. So copy your folder, navigate to the new folder inside GCloud Express. If you remove the node modules folder, you will want to reinstall them. That's yes. And then hit npm run build to generate the static files. Now you run npm start instead of GCloud Express, and you should see your app running in the browser. So that's significant. If you run, so let's go ahead and do that. The last step I do want to do, which I don't know if it's GCloud account 7311. The other thing I want to do is go ahead and connect it to the back end. But let's go ahead and do this now. So we edited it. So let's do, we are inside the client folder. So npm run build. And this will create a build folder, which we are going to serve through our server. Okay. So now there's kind of a, so let's go back into our GCloud Express, because that's what it was saying. Go back into your root folder and now hit npm start. Let's, cannot find module express. Let's npm npm install. Npm start. So I forgot to do that. Okay, so it says app is running on port 4000. So we'll want to go in here, say localhost 4000. Okay, so this is one thing that I kind of went different from the directions. So it's saying welcome to our Express app, and that's because if we go into our index.js file, we have this app.get welcome to our Express app. But what we instead want to do is we want to serve our whole React application. So I have some notes here. So we want this line, constant path equals require.path, require path. Where should I put that? I'll put that right. Yeah, I'll put that right there. And then app.use okay, app.use express static path join. And so what this is basically going to do, client/build, that's going to go into the client folder, and then the build folder. So it will serve that static folder whenever somebody hits the main route. I'm going to leave this uncommented out. I kind of curious which, let's go ahead and let's try it now. 4,000, reload, there it is. Patrick's new app. All right, so here's another part where there's kind of two things going on. This, as of right now, is our production build. If, I'm gonna close that. If we go into our React application and we say new and improved app, edit Patrick's new and improved app, and hit that. If you go into, let's just run this again. If you go back here, you will not see any changes. But if you go into your client folder and you say npm start, there we go. Wait. Hold on, it's still loading. There we go. So right now npm start is serving our just this little it's up to date. And if we want to make basically kind of like commit those changes to the production build, then you would say, come on, we would say npm run build again. So let's do that. And now, once this is done again, we should be able to restart the Express server and it will be serving the newly updated build. Okay, so go back one folder, npm start. Okay, so now instead of 3,000, we'll go to 4,000. Boom. Okay. So, last thing I want to do before we go ahead and deploy this, I want to connect this to make sure that this is connected to a backend of some sort. So I'm going to a very, very simple backend. I'm not really going to worry about a SQL database. Maybe that'll be on the next one. But a simple backend. Okay, so we've got this here, and now we're going to let's put a button, and on click will, what did I do before? What did I do before? And I go, let's see. All I want to do is basically send a GET request, but I'm kind of blanking on that for some reason. Axios.get. Let's give it a test of route, and the button will called, we'll say test server. Okay. And now, of course, we need Axios. And I'm going to go ahead and install that. And so when I install that, I'm going to install it into the front end folder. CD client, npm I, Axios. The backend will probably need it anyway, but it's just an example of, as of right now, this package JSON probably has an Axios and this one doesn't unless it was already installed. And my understanding is that that's kind of what you want in general, a split between the front end dependencies and stuff and the back end. Okay. One low severity vulnerable. Okay. Okay, so we're sending this route, but obviously we need the route. So let's say app dot, let's give it a route of test, and we'll say server hit. Okay. Of course, in app.js, Axios got that test dot then res console.log res. I thought I did this in a much more simple way when I did it before, but maybe not. We'll see. Okay, so now I think we are ready to let's run this inside the client folder, see if that's working. Oh, and I probably should have, well, instead of going /test, I probably should have done like /API/test. But let's on click expected to be a function, instead got a value of object. Well, that is what did I do wrong here? Const test equals axios.get. I don't know what I did wrong here, but obviously I did something wrong. And I think that should work. Okay, so getting an error. Now I think that's a good question. Would this work in the production build? I think this would still work on the production build once it's deployed, but you might want to kind of work on the development build and have that functionality. So to do that, we'll need to go into our package JSON file and add this line. Because right now, oh, also, actually, I forgot to start the server. So let's just make sure. I think I'll get the same result, but let's say npm start listening to port 4000. I think you're going to get the same result. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to tell, this is in the client JSON folder, proxy localhost 4000. How does this work? Well, I'm not 100% sure, but basically what's happening is our server is listening to port 4000 and our React application is running on port, our development application is on port 3000. And so it's going to make it so that, well, I guess it's going to make it so that requests to port 3000 basically get sent to port 4000. And I didn't see any of this in the ACA direction. So if they want to leave a comment on, you know, best practices or anything like that, I'd love to hear more about it. But I found this line in a lot of online tutorials about how to set this up, and so far it's worked well for me. Okay, so now let me make sure that's saved. Let's say npm start. That's for the server. All right, and this should still be running. So let's just, I don't know, reload it. Test server. Hmm. Hmm. Let's go ahead and restart that. Gotta wait a second here. Still haven't got to the deployment phase of all this. All right, there we go. So it's all connected. And of course, if we actually go to localhost 4000, let's see, what do we get? No button because we haven't ran the production build yet. All right, so now finally we are ready to deploy, or we're gonna run npm build one more time. This is in the client folder. Npm run build. Boop-a-doo-boo. Once this is done, let's let's see, is our server running? Let's restart that. And then let's check this out, make sure it's there. Test server, nice. All right, so now let's go ahead and deploy. And let's see, let's go back to the instructions. Okay. So setup's now complete. Let's create a new project in the GCloud account. So I am, so yeah, let's go to the, I'll go to the Google Cloud Console. And I'll go ahead and create a new project here. You do have to have billing enabled for this, and I know that can be, I don't know, an impediment. Although I don't know how much they, I think they charge a bit for the database hosting, but I don't know if they charge that much for the app stuff. All right, so let's make a new project. And I'll call it GCloud Express 1. Okay, GCloud Express. I'll say tut. So I remember that this is for this was made for the tutorial. Billing account. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to remember now. What do we do from here? Let's go back to the directions. I think we're ready to just run the command. Deploying example, display a modal. It looks like that. Okay, click new project, name it something. Once it's been created, there's only one thing left to do. Go to the terminal and type GCloud app deploy and then the name of your project. Cool. All right. So back to the project. GCloud app deploy, and we want to make sure that project is whatever is here, which is not there. My dog is about to start barking because somebody's about to walk up to the door. Okay, so it should be GCloud Express Tut. Okay, so GCloud Express Tut. I think that should do it. Let's see. Let's find out. And I'll say 14. Looks good. Yes. It's always a moment of you're not sure what's going to happen. I think it should work. And if assuming this does work, okay, we should have pretty much everything we need to kind of build out our application. You would just put a folder with all of your routes and backend information in a folder in your root directory. So it'd be outside the client. It might be like, client, node modules, and then a folder for your API and all that. Also, obviously, one of the special things about this folder that we kind of cloned from is it just has this runtime Node.js, and then the environment variable. Okay, let's say GCloud app browse. Let's see. Looks good. And does it serve? Yay, all right. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think you could actually, if you wanted to, for the purposes of this, you could probably take out that proxy, that proxy line, and it should still run. I find it helpful when I'm working on it. Let's see, I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah, so this would be uh, a really good launching point. So from here, you could build out your application. You'd put your API folder here with all your routes. Let me delete that. Come on. Delete. Okay. Might put an API folder here with all your routes, your server information. Also, you would put, if you would want an env file with maybe an API key or your connection password. That would be, you would want to put that in your root folder here. And that is basically it. Oh, and then for here, you'd want that .env. All right. Well, if you watch this, let me know if it was helpful for you, or maybe if you would do things differently. I'm all ears. But this is how it's how this is how I've been doing things and how it's been working for me. One thing I know that I couldn't do for whatever reason, I'm having a lot of trouble getting these kind of applications to run on Heroku. So maybe if you're out there and you've had really good success deploying React apps and full-scale apps on Heroku, I'd love to see it. All right, thanks a lot. And uh, I'm a tutor for ACA, so If you are a student there, definitely book time with me, and I'm happy to help you out with whatever project you're working on. Thanks a lot. Bye.